Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday night, the 20th of April, 2020. And it was somebody,
2021.
2021. I'm sorry.
2021, Joe.
Yeah, no, I got distracted for a moment because I read somewhere where this famous person, and you would have liked this, and I can't remember now what it was I read. Oh, now I remember. So, yes, April 20th, 2021, 56 years ago today, Joe. Um, you give us 22 minutes, we give you the world. Went on the air. 10-10
10
wins.
and wins. Yes. Amazing.
It is.
And that was a lot of people who grew up with that station have no idea that they were a very big rock station prior to going completely over to news 24/7.
Yeah, it was like
And
an overnight thing. They woke up one day and they said, you know what, let's chuck all the equipment and go to an all news format.
yes, and they did, and they still are doing it after all of these years later.
Yep. Happy birthday to them. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by the folks who got mulch. Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, on Long Island. 631-756-1125 is the phone number. And they do have the best prices in town. And they got tons of mulch. And the mulch comes in all sorts of different colors. From black to red, and they never run out. Although the circle of death, there we go. And they never run out because they make it there themselves. So head over to Omni True Value Hardware to make your yard look like it's a champion. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. Also brought to you by tonight, Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist to meet all your decorating needs, or maybe you want to decorate for a business. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. So here we are after overall was a very good day. I saw that the temperatures made it up into the low and middle 70s, which was actually, it wound up being higher than what was being indicated back a few days ago and even yesterday. You mentioned how the guidance up your way was running low and mid 60s, and you nudge the numbers higher. So, which was really this time of year. You're always going to, the model numbers in a situation like this, when you have a lot of sun and you've got a favorable wind, it's always going to wind up at least 3 to 5 degrees higher than forecast.
Well, you know who you can pick out the new weather forecasters, or the ones that are just getting started in this business, the ones that just arbitrarily take the numbers and just accept it, as opposed to the old geezers like you and I, who have been through this now for God knows, and I don't even talk about how many years we've been doing it, but we just automatically see numbers and we say, oh, that's not going to be right. And you have to massage, change, or just literally throw the numbers out and put in what you are knowledgeable enough to know are going to be the correct numbers. So anyway, if you heard any forecasters yesterday saying, high today 63 or 65, and it fell way short of that, you know that they will learn, hopefully, that there are times when you just cannot rely simply on the machine. You have to mix in a little man or woman into the equation to get a good forecast.
I think if we had a west wind today, I think you could probably would have seen temperatures up close to 80. But instead, most of the winds were either south or south-southwest, and that's usually not enough. You need that west. You need it at least to be 250 degrees, either west-southwest wind or west. Certainly on Long Island, the south wind is always this time of year is deadly as far as the temperatures are concerned. Although I think northern Nassau and northwest Suffolk County still managed to get up close to the 70-degree mark today.
Yeah, somebody on the chat board just said it was, Krishnapedia, 60 degrees in Rocky Point and windy.
Yeah,
So
I
there you
looked. I was
go.
looking at OBS around mid-afternoon and saw the south wind, and everybody was like between 60 and 65. that that was going to be that was going to be a problem. And again, that's spring, and that's Long Island in the springtime. It just loves to do that. So unless you have a really decent westerly wind with a gradient there, with the a few isobars running across Pennsylvania and upstate New York, going from west to east, um, yeah, you're going to have a fight. And the thing is, that's a big factor for tomorrow, the wind direction, because I think it's ultimately going to determine how unstable is the atmosphere going to be, and what kind of thunderstorms are we going to be dealing with when that cold front comes through. Because I think you can make a case in either direction that and SPC mentioned in their discussion about the possibility that the atmosphere could be a little more unstable than advertised if we get enough enough daytime heating in the morning and into the early afternoon. But watch that wind direction, because if it's a 180 wind, even areas inland of the coast are going to have a problem with that when those thunderstorms approach, and they're going to start to weaken as they get close to New York City and coastal New Jersey. So just bear that in mind.
Well, I don't know whether or not, you're talking as if you are uh, thinking that some out there are hoping that they maintain their strength and energy,
Well, you
having
know
been
what I'm
around long
seeing.
enough. All right.
Yeah, I'm being agnostic here, but I'm just pointing out that even though you could look at this and you got a sharp upper trough, and there's some solid winds. There's a solid jet at 700 millibars and at 500 millibars at those levels, and everything says severe weather. You got to watch the bottom of the atmosphere, because if the wind has too much of a southerly component to it, that is going to bring in a marine layer, and it will weaken those storms before they get. And when we want that to happen, in a sense, because sure, we don't want destruction. I'm just emphasizing the fact that that possibility is there, that we could wind up with a less a less unstable atmosphere, or a slightly more
Correct.
stable atmosphere.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
And,
all.
and it looks like, Joe, probably sometime around 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow, give or take an hour going from west to east, that this line of potential nasty weather will be moving on through. And depending upon how it develops, depending upon whether or not we get some breaks in the cloud cover, any good break in the clouds will certainly send the temperature soaring upward, making the atmosphere even more unstable and setting the stage for a better chance for severe weather. So that'll be for tomorrow, and it'll be something to watch. And I think by 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, if things look like they're going to percolate, the Weather Service, the Severe Storms Center in Oklahoma, will likely put out some kind of a weather watch, which will encompass at least portions of the tri-state area. Most notably, I would say from Nassau County and points west and north for the mid and late afternoon hours tomorrow.
Meanwhile, I'm just looking at the satellite loop, Joe, and sometimes in situations like this, where if you look at this back 2 days ago versus today, you can see the arc of clouds running through upstate New York and northern New England. That the frontal boundary, that lead frontal boundary that moved across the Great Lakes yesterday, stalled as advertised, and now you're seeing the energy in the upper trough dropping southeast. Very interesting. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this loop, Joe. The cloud formations back in the western lakes. Um, yeah, I'm kind of looking at that, and I'm thinking, is that upper trough deeper than advertised? Because sometimes when you see these systems, they come in. When they come in on the west, off the west coast, and they got a lot of Q in them, and you get a good sharp rotation, they can often be an indicator of strength. And I'm just kind of looking at this on the loop. I'm just wondering whether this trough is a little deeper. I don't know what just happened now. The pictures disappeared from the GOES site. It's redoing. It's doing an update, I guess. But
They
very,
just don't like you.
yeah, very definitely though that trough is swinging eastward. That's a decent looking upper trough that's coming in. And you're right. The other thing is for tomorrow morning. If we could stay out of those clouds that are to the north and west, and right now they're not sinking southeastward. So if we could stay out of those clouds during the morning hours, we might have um, enough sunshine to maybe take those temperatures up close to 70 or even over 70 in some spots. And that could add to the instability. And I think that's what SPC was hinting at when they mentioned it in their discussion.
Well, some overnight tonight is going to be a rather mild night for late April across the Hudson Valley. The normal low temperature for the Hudson Valley at this time of the year should be in the low to mid 40s, and yet there will be places tonight that'll be in the high 40s to even the low and mid 50s. So that is going to be the starting or the starting page for tomorrow morning in terms of potential severe action. I might also point out, Joe, I don't know if you noticed it, but the GFS really is taking this area of showery and thundery weather eastward much more rapidly than, let's say, the NAM. The NAM wouldn't have it moving through here until like 4 or 5 o'clock. The GFS has already moving in by noontime or 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So maybe by if the GFS is right, by 4 or 5 o'clock it's all east of us, and we may even be breaking onto some partial clearing. So it'll be. I'm going to be curious to see what the overnight run has, whether or not the two models will come a little bit closer together. But most definitely, the GFS seems to be the faster and more robust of the two short-term models.
I just fronts don't like to come through here in the morning. I mean, they really don't. Um, so we see that sometimes where the model likes to do that, and then the front doesn't wind up coming through until late afternoon. But hey, stranger things have happened, of course. Doesn't say it can't happen. Meanwhile, Ruthless Goat is on, and it was 14 degrees this morning, Joe, in Loveland, Colorado, with about 3 inches of snow on the ground. And he's got his total now 4.5 inches of snow yesterday in Loveland, 81 inches so far for the season. And that's coming after last year when they had just shy of 100 inches for the season out where he is. So winter's still going on out there in the west, although the radar has certainly calmed down. And he corrected it now. It's 13 this morning was his absolute low. Amazing. And in the meantime, the north and west part of this precipitation shield going through Indiana and Illinois is probably snow, but it looks like it is not reaching Chicago. It's just south and east of Chicago.
Well, I was looking, especially if you're a Met fan, as to how this was going to impact the game. It looked like the lion's share of the snow would be just south of the Chicago area. By the way, the game has started, and they're in the top of the first with the Mets squaring off against the Cubs. So it looks like, at least for the moment, no worries or threats about any kind of snow in the immediate Chicagoland area.
Right, long sleeves and long underwear.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, if you're into baseball at this time of the year, that's the thing. You have to really bundle up. And these games are more apropos for football as opposed to the great summer pastime.
All right, so let's take a look at what SPC is talking about for tomorrow. And this was let me just make sure that they didn't update the forecast on me because they like to do that sometimes. I'm going to think they didn't, and they did not. The one thing they did do this morning was that they nudged the area northward into the middle and upper Hudson Valley, even going north of Albany on the marginal risk, running right along the New York State-Mass border, the New York State-Connecticut border, down to Nassau, Queens. So this, again, and they are certainly recognizing what happens when you have a south wind and you have an ocean to your south, like southern New England does in Long Island, and that's why the marginal risk doesn't extend out into southern and southeastern New England. Marginal risk going down all the way to northeastern North Carolina. They also, I think, moved it down a little bit further to the south on the morning forecast. They haven't changed it since. So this is for tomorrow. Not to forget about tonight, we do have an area of marginal risk in Central Florida again. And this is where the action has been for the last couple of days, and it goes on today. Tomorrow, as we saw, now we'll go to day 3, which is Thursday into Friday, and there's no severe weather areas being indicated. However, we should note that we do have severe weather indicated in their day 4 to 8. On day 4, they have a 15%, a rather large area of Hang on, I lost my mouse there for a moment. Oh, it's being weird on me. A rather large area of 15% probability of severe weather covering much of eastern and central Texas across Louisiana into Mississippi on day 4. So that's Friday into Saturday. And then Saturday into Sunday, it's southeast Louisiana, southern half of Mississippi, Alabama, southern Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle with a 15%. I'm thinking either one or both of those days. 15% is slight risk. That either one or both of those days we could wind up seeing an enhanced risk of severe weather in any one of those zones. And then beyond that, it's predictability too low on day 6, which is Sunday into Monday, potential too low for Monday into Tuesday, and then predictability too low for next Tuesday into Wednesday. So the severe weather possibilities definitely picking up as we move into Friday and the first part of the weekend, and of course with what we have to deal with for tomorrow, if that winds up happening.
I wonder if we'll ever see something, 15% or anything for day 8. You think we'll ever see that they'll actually go all the way, stick their neck all the way out that far to actually say that, yes, the potential is there for something.
Yeah, day 8.
I don't think I've ever seen anything beyond day 6.
I can remember a day 7 a couple of times. I can remember a day 7. I don't know if I remember a day 8, but I definitely can remember a day 7. Hang on one second here. I'm hearing mischief in the other room. Oh no, he's fine. He's ripping up his frisbee. So JJ's occupying himself tonight. Instead of sleeping through the show, he's in the room. He's in the other room playing with his toys. WPC showing about an inch to an inch and a quarter for total rainfall, and of course this really is more for Saturday night into Sunday afternoon in terms of the volume of rain. The stuff for tomorrow is going to move through pretty quickly, so I can't imagine we're going to get a whole lot of rain out of that. And then across the Gulf states in the southeast, you're seeing 1.5 inches to some 3-inch plus areas over the next 7 days. So that means I got wet weather to look forward to in the longer term. And some rain down in South Florida, some precip up in northern Minnesota, western Lake Superior, robust rains in the Pacific Northwest down into northern California and also into the Sierra Nevadas, and even some rain being forecasted the next 7 days all the way down to San Diego and Tijuana on the Mexico side. And of course, the northern and central Rockies still seeing some wintertime going on over the next 7 days. That seems to continue almost endlessly at this point. You think it would come to an end eventually, but at least so far, that is not the case.
Nope. I don't think so.
No, you don't.
Not in the foreseeable future.
No. So I'm going to go. I got to pull this up full screen for a minute because I have to just do a little house cleaning here. But my question is for tomorrow, Joe. So how do you think this all times out for you? Times out tomorrow in terms of the showers and storms.
I'm just saying spotty shower activity until about midday, and then more prolific or more widespread showers coming on in the afternoon, followed, and again, everything is going to be dependent upon the timing. I guess if we take a consensus between the GFS and the NAM, we might expect some severe weather in the immediate Hudson Valley by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then after that, I think the two things are going to happen. After we're done with the showers and storms, we're going to see a noticeable drop in temperature and also a noticeable increase in the wind. I think it's going to become quite windy. Wind should shift from south over into the west-northwest during the afternoon with gusts over 30 miles per hour. And tomorrow night, I don't think we're going to go clear. We'll probably have some lingering cloudiness. We'll call it partly cloudy, if you will, or partly cloudy to maybe clear. And then fast-moving clouds and sun on Thursday. But the thing is, tomorrow night, I said this yesterday, I don't think we're going to see any frost advisory for the Hudson Valley. Freeze advisory, that could be more likely with the temperatures hovering in the mid and low 30s or near 30. And a chill factor, part of the reason why I don't think we're going to see much of a frost probability, the winds are going to still be very active tomorrow night. I could see wind chills on Thursday morning in the upper teens to low to mid 20s. Now keep that in mind. Upper teens, low to mid 20s, how it will feel on Thursday morning. Whereas this afternoon, many of the places in the Hudson Valley hit or exceeded 70. So it's going to be a cold slap in the face over a span of just 24 to 36
Right.
hours.
And by the way, you speaking of freezes, that is really the dominating advisory. I mean, on the watches and warnings map from the Weather Service, the freeze warnings are extensive. They run from much of northern Texas, all of Oklahoma, across cuts Arkansas on a diagonal, all of Missouri, most of Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, southern Iowa, all of Illinois, Indiana, southern Michigan, western Ohio, all under freeze warnings. Remember, the growing season's already started in these areas and started in some cases as you go south weeks ago. So this is a problem here, especially on the southern end of this. We also have freeze watches up for western North Carolina, northeastern Tennessee, also central Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, except the northeast, western Virginia, along and west of I-81, and much of central and southeastern Ohio. Plus, we have winter weather advisories up for the counties along the shores of Lake Erie in Ohio, and also in western New York, and also up in north central New York, east of Lake Ontario, because there will be some snow out of this, probably anywhere from a coating to well, if you want to give it a range of 1 to maybe as much as 4 in some of these places. It's not going to be a real big deal in terms of snowfall, but the fact that it's so late in the season is notable. And in the west, we've got those red flag warnings in Arizona and western New Mexico, southern Utah, and southeasternmost Colorado. So, and the rest of the country is pretty quiet. But Joe, those freeze warnings, they really do stand out at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm surprised that the New York National Weather Service hasn't issued, or even the Albany Weather Service has not issued a freeze watch for Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Oh,
I'm not
they
sure
may do
why.
that they may do that tomorrow. They may
Well,
do it. They may do it tomorrow. Maybe they just looked at things today and said, you know what, the wind, the clouds, maybe the temperatures get under 32. Maybe they don't. I mean, we could take a look at what they're forecasting on the digital for Thursday morning and see what they're thinking. So I'll bring that up and we'll see what the numbers are. We'll just give it a moment here to load. Um, So they're going, for New York City. Well, that's LaGuardia, the 37. So let's say 35. Philadelphia, 37. But just north and west of the big cities, yeah, I mean it's in the 20s across much of the Hudson Valley. Certainly the middle and upper Hudson Valley. 31 at Poughkeepsie, Joe. White Plains, I think I would probably say it's either there's a 33 to the north and a 30. Wait, is that no? The 33 is Poughkeepsie. I'm sorry. There's a 33 in Poughkeepsie and a 35 further south. I guess that's northern Manhattan or something. So we'll say White Plains. Let's say 34 is what this is giving. But there's a lot of 20s when you go up into upstate New York and also into northeastern Pennsylvania. You've got low 30s down into northern Maryland. So I guess I guess they could have done it tonight, but I'm more than likely they'll do it tomorrow morning to put it up for Thursday morning. Maybe they figured if
yes,
they figured if they put the freeze warning up tonight, it would be misinterpreted as being for tomorrow morning and not for Thursday morning. I don't know, just a guess on my
well,
part.
I think, I mean, a watch is, we're watching this and tune in tomorrow when the watch may become although is it a warning or would it become an advisory? I don't even know anymore. I
Well,
thought they were going to change this whole thing. I
I
thought they
don't
were
know.
going to
They
change
have,
and get rid of advisories and warnings and
yeah,
watches and whatever.
I don't know. It goes below 32. If you got plants outside, take them in. Okay, we've told you. I don't. And by the way, Craig Carlberg, I don't think. I think we're going to be just below wind advisory criteria here. Now, maybe in central and eastern New England, they may get into a wind advisory there where the gradient is much tighter. But I'm thinking, at least if you're talking about eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England here, I'm thinking we're going to stay below just below the advisory criteria.
I think so. Although I said yesterday, if you want to look at this from the political point of view, somebody might say, will it hurt? Will it kill us if we mentioned or put up a wind advisory? Better safe than sorry. Somebody might go over 45 or 50 in a gust, and maybe just maybe they might do that. But yeah, I agree with you. Overall, looking at everything, I think there will be just below wind advisory criteria later tomorrow and into tomorrow night, and even on into Thursday. Thursday too looks like a rather gusty, windy day out there.
Yeah, Jason Barry pointing out a freeze watch or freeze warning and a severe thunderstorm watch up at the same time. That doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. It's kind of like sometimes in the summertime, on rare occasions, you have a record high temperature in the afternoon, and then the next morning, after a sharp front has moved on through, you break the record low.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at the NAM, the 12Z NAM. Oh no, I actually have the 18Z 3 kilometer NAM, Joe, up on the screen, and the starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, you could see the beginnings of the line. The low is sitting somewhere southwest of Scranton, moving up toward Binghamton by the time we get to noon, and you start to see these thunderstorms pop up by 1 o'clock. The line is moved further east. By 2 o'clock, we have it right along the New Jersey-Pennsylvania state line. Again, you pointed out that the GFS is faster. This is 3 o'clock. This particular run, the NAM is a little, I would say, is a little less robust than the prior couple of runs. Sometimes that happens when you get close to it. You see the model, shows these huge storms and a really vicious-looking squall line, which is overdone. And then when it gets into those last couple of runs before reality, it backs off. So it could be also the fact that, again, as I said earlier, we'll have to watch how much of a south wind are we going to have tomorrow ahead of this. And then, of course, you'll notice that at 4 p.m., the line has moved through New York City into western Nassau County, and then all of a sudden, by 5 p.m., Joe, it's in central Suffolk County. All the big cells are gone. They just, between 4 and 5 o'clock, they just dissolve. And you have a fractured-looking line of showers going by, heading into southeastern New England to Boston, probably at around 7 o'clock or so. And even there, those showers kind of fall apart before they move on through. And then after that, you see how the gradient begins to tighten up during the overnight and taking us in through the daytime on Thursday. The one thing I would point out is when we look at the upper air on the NAM, it is a strong jet that's showing up. Of course, while the circle of death is circling, and filling these maps up, I'll go to SPC's map, which I pre-saved. And if you watch this trough as it swings eastward, take a look at that blowing area of yellow and green, dark green, moving up through Pennsylvania. That is the jet at 500 millibars that holds together pretty well going into the mid and late afternoon as it moves into New Jersey. So that's the trough that's actually setting off the thunderstorms. What this doesn't, and it's all fine and dandy at 8,000 feet, but again, it's that bottom part of the atmosphere that's going to dictate how strong these storms are ultimately, because if with that south wind issue, but the jet is there with the trough as it swings on through. And by the way, this upper low is going to be sitting over the northeast for Thursday and for a good part of Friday too. So I think that's going to create some instability clouds on Thursday and maybe even for a little while on Friday.
And we'll be looking at the way the pressure gradient, as you pointed out, tightens up a bit later tomorrow and into tomorrow night. It's still going to be quite tight on Thursday. And I got to tell you, even on Friday, while it's not going to be a windy day on Friday, and the standpoint of what we'll see, let's say tomorrow night or Thursday, the Friday will also be rather breezy or rather gusty as well. Then we'll get a little bit of a respite on Saturday, and then the next coastal system, then the next really noteworthy disturbance that's coming our way for Sunday, that will start revving the winds up again as we move into later Sunday and on into Monday as well. It seems, Joe, that we had a great day today, and now we have to put up with a few days of yuck.
Yeah.
And the next, the next nice day, the next tranquil day, the next pretty nice day around here probably won't be until Saturday now,
Yep.
and that'll only last one day.
And by the way, here's the NAM for tomorrow afternoon. All these dark brown spots that you see running from northeastern Virginia on up to the Catskills. Those are all jet streaks of 60, 70 knots moving eastward. That's from where you're going to get these thunderstorms. And SPC is emphasizing the fact that the risk here is going to be not for tornadoes, but for gusty, for strong gusty winds. And certainly the upper air supports that idea. And then, of course, you see the main jet with the upper trough that swings in overnight into Thursday, that's sitting overhead all day Thursday, and moving on into Thursday night and beyond. That's going to keep, as I said, it's going to keep the atmosphere somewhat unstable. We should probably get some Q to develop, and of course, we'll have some lake effect going on in upstate New York. So that's all nice. Meanwhile, just want to take a look here at the GFS as we now move away from this system. What you're looking at here, by the way, is the 6Z run, which looks really, really blocky for later next week and going. We were talking yesterday about the possibility of maybe warming up for a few days next week, but it was kind of tenuous with what the models were showing. And then I looked at this today and I thought, well, so much for that warm up, because this has blockiness and backdoor fronts written all over it, if that's correct. But let's run this through. And by the way, I failed to mention this yesterday, but apparently, and this was Levi Cowan put this up on Tropical Tidbits. It's apparently NCEPs beginning today and tomorrow will be imposing restriction, just for the 2 days, imposing restrictions on how fast its model data can be downloaded. Maybe they're doing some kind of a system upgrade, and it may, in fact, the timeliness of some plots. But how much is yet unknown. But so far, I haven't noticed any delays.
No, I haven't had any problems or difficulties, but I guess he put that up just in case people were having problems. But so far, so good. No problems from this end, and I guess for yours too.
Yep. All right, so here we go with the next deep trough swinging into the east. You see it right here. Strengthens as it goes into the northeast tomorrow and tomorrow night and Thursday. The upper low manages to get to Newfoundland. Then here comes the next trough for the weekend. You have a southern stream system and a northern stream system. That upper low dropping down between Great Slave Lake and Lake Winnipeg really, gets wrapped up here, and it picks up the southern stream system. And the trough goes negative as it lifts up off the east coast. And then, much like what happened about a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, when we had the upper low get to somewhere between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and then just sit there, the same thing happens here. And initially you get a ridge that builds in between, but I'm missing some of the new maps. Jump a couple of days later, and that upper low from Newfoundland is somewhere down near Bermuda or northwest of Bermuda. So we're going to have to watch this, because that could mean some backdoor cold front issues coming through later next week. Hard to say. Meanwhile, you're still getting deep troughing out in the west, so maybe Ruthless Goat, if he's still on there, and perhaps the snow machine may not have cut off or may not have shut off yet. I'm going to just go back to the 12Z run because I'm missing too many. Here it is at 8 o'clock. The whole run should have been out. So spoke too soon, Joe. Maybe that's where the delays are on some of the maps. So let me just roll this back on the.
Well, sometimes on Tropical Tidbits, you have like 36, 42, 48, and then all of a sudden the next three hourly runs are not available. But then they jump to, let's say, 60 hours. Technology.
Right. Yes. Oh, so while the Circle of Death is loading the maps, I just saw that you answered Bill Bill Rogers' question about being born in East Harlem and moved to the Bronx in 1965. That answer also applies to me. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right. We
just so you know,
we went through.
we didn't know each other at the time, but we talked about this. But also, born in East Harlem and moved to the Bronx in 1965. So,
Right. Early. I mean, we both attended the same Catholic school as youngsters, Holy Rosary School. I think it was on 121st Street and Pleasant Avenue.
right, you had the
And
120th. Was it 121st or 120th? It was 120th. Yeah, but you had
I don't know.
Mrs. Quinn. I did not.
Oh God,
Yeah,
please.
I had Sister Gloria.
Sister Gloria was, if I remember correctly, was a fairly nice
Oh,
lady.
she was very nice.
I had Sister Ursula, who had to be the world's largest and most imposing nun.
That was a pre Sister Charles Edwards experience, I imagine. You,
Well, no, actually she was really like mild and mannered compared to Sister Charles Edwards. Sister Charles Edwards was in a class by herself.
yes, from the truck driving circuit. All right. So meanwhile, I got the 12Z just to show you that lifts as we go into the weekend. Of course, our lead system lifts up into eastern Canada. Here comes the next trough, picks up the southern stream system. It goes negative, and then that low cuts off near Newfoundland, and guess what? Starts to drop south and southwestward. And this is why I'm concerned about blockiness. And then you've got stuff from the west that's getting trying to come eastward and has only limited success. Now, if the block behaves itself, maybe we could get into a situation like we did a couple of weeks ago where we had some nice weather for 4 days in a row. But we'll have to examine this more carefully as we when we get into next week to see just exactly what we're dealing with. We could have an onshore flow, but maybe it'll be mostly dry, in which case we could be okay and we could have some decent weather for 4 days or so. But that's a verdict for down the road. And as far as the surface map is concerned on the GFS, and again, let me just roll back to the 6. Let's give it a little time to load. By the way, this is not because of me necessarily that these maps take forever to load. It's just that um, the site is slow lately. Bless you.
Pardon me.
That's quite all
Pardon
right.
me. Yeah, thank
And
you.
so here's our GFS for tomorrow. Brings the front through. You can see the gradient is pretty tight for Thursday into Friday, as Joe indicated. High pressure in Mississippi gradually moves eastward. Saturday will wind up being the decent day in this latest stretch with the high off the southeast coast. And then, of course, here comes the next low in Texas. So those severe weather risks Friday night into Saturday, as SPC indicated, the GFS picking up on that during the overnight Friday night in northeast Texas and across northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and Mississippi, and then gradually through the Gulf states on Saturday. It's got some heavy rain for me on Saturday, too. And there's your surface low in southern West Virginia Saturday evening. Looks like rain gets here probably around midnight or so, plus or minus a few hours either way. Sunday morning, Joe, the low is just east of Atlantic City. By Sunday afternoon, it's sitting over eastern Long Island. So probably going to see some improvement south and west of New York City Sunday afternoon if the timing is right. But it may be miserable all day from New York City north and east until the low gets out of the way. And then here's next week where it's dry on Monday. Actually, most of the eastern half of the U.S. is dry. But Joe, that's my one concern here. I mean, it looks pretty dry and through Wednesday and into Thursday, still dry, but there's a high that's building down from the north. So, we're going to have the wind. I don't see this as, I don't think this is going to be one of those deals where temperatures are going to get well up into the 70s. We're going to have to be dealing with onshore wind issues that are going to hold temperatures down. But at least for now, this model would suggest that much of next week would be dry.
Well, we'll see. I said yesterday that while I thought that next week would evolve into a warmer than normal pattern, a milder weather pattern, that I was concerned about excuse me, I was concerned about showers getting in the way, but it looks like, Joe, after Sunday, I would have to say, yeah, it looks like, Monday, Tuesday, and maybe even Wednesday and Thursday look a-okay in terms of moisture, in terms of dry weather. So maybe next week will turn out to be a decent week for the
Yep.
most part. We'll see.
The Bill Rogers. So you asked two questions here earlier that I wanted to address. So this one, you said, have you the cause of the cold in Europe is the position of the polar vortex in the stratosphere and how it's breaking down. There's been almost this persistent flow from northern Greenland going across the North Atlantic into Western Europe, and that started a couple of weeks ago, and it's been, just like we've been fighting the blocking pattern here. That same blocking pattern has created the cold, dragging because they're on the eastern side of that blockingness. So the air being anticyclonic or coming around on the east side of the high is going to be winds aloft from the north, and that's what's been bringing down the cold air into Europe. The other more important pressing question was the fact that whether I found a cigar place around here, which I have, several in fact. Uh, and yeah, there are some people do dip. I never understood that, so that's not my thing. Never even had the desire to try it. I used Joe. When I worked in South Texas, the sportscaster, Bob Tucker was his name. He would come into work with a suit jacket, tie, and short pants and sandals every day, and he would show up like an hour before the show. And he would have this big wad of chewing tobacco in his mouth, and he carried a spittoon with him. So he would go on the set with the spittoon, and right before the sports tease, he would just spit it all out into the spittoon,
Oh.
and then do this sports tease, do the sports cast. When the sports cast was over, he'd take another big wad of chewing tobacco and put it right into his mouth. Yeah, that's, but yeah, I honestly, I have seen a few people, a few guys that dip, but I would say most people now probably don't, even here.
You know,
It, it,
Jim Bouton, the late Jim Bouton, who wrote the book Ball Four, he also got into with I think his brother. They created something called Big League Chew, and this is for all the kids, all the little leaguers who
yeah, it was bubble gum
idolized
and like shreds of bubble gum, right?
shreds of bubble gum in a kind of like a package or packet,
A
just like
pouch, yeah.
the pouch, just like the chewing tobacco would come in. And you see these kids like jam all this gum in their mouth and go long, long, long. The Yankees had a ball player back in the 60s and 70s, Steve Hamilton. He was a relief pitcher, big, tall guy. I don't know how many of you out there, Yankee fans, remember this guy. 6'6", 6'8", but he loved chewing tobacco, and he would always be chomping on that. Steve Hamilton was the pitcher, Joe, whose special pitch was the folly floater.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
He would throw the ball like 70 feet up in the air. You'd think it'd be the easiest thing to hit.
Nobody could hit
9 out
it.
of 10 ball players had it. No,
Nobody could hit it,
amazing.
and then somebody I forgot who it was, but somebody did figure it out and hit a home run off of it. Managed to time it and hit a home run. Yeah, that was bizarre. Nobody does that
If you
now. They
go
don't do
on,
those bizarre things anymore, do they?
well, it's called an EPA. It's called an EPA pitch, and there's still a couple of people who will occasionally sneak one of those into their repertoire and throw it. Oh, look at that! What the heck was that all about? But Steve Hamilton would throw it semi-regularly, and you could actually, you Yankee fans, if you've never seen this pitch, go on YouTube and simply type in Steve Hamilton, Folly Floater, or you don't even have to type in his name. Just type in Folly Floater, and you'll see it's not the greatest film because it's you can see how faded it has become over the years. But you can actually see he's throwing against a slugger for the Indians by the name of Tony Horton, and Tony Horton popped the ball up. Then he points at Steve Hamilton, says, "Throw that again," and Steve Hamilton throws it again, and he popped it up again. And Thurman Munson caught the ball. Everybody's looking at Tony Horton. Tony Horton throws the bat up in the air, throws his helmet up in the air, and he crawls back to the dugout. And like Phil Rizzuto's like saying that, and what a show Tony Horton put on.
By the way, it should be. I'm on Facebook. I'm I don't know him personally. I'm friends with Fritz Peterson, and
Oh,
who's
well, he was involved with the wife swap.
right. That was back in the early '70s. But he is. I wish him well because he is ill. He has Alzheimer's, and every once in a while you see him with his wife will come on Facebook and you know with pictures and that kind of past pictures and so on. So we do.
Who,
But we
Fritz Peterson?
yes, we do. We certainly
Fritz
do
Peterson.
wish him well.
Yeah, he was. There was a little bit of a controversy in the early '70s between him and Mike Kekich, who
Right.
was a teammate of his. But I remember when Fritz Peterson hit a home run off the Mets. I think it was the year after the Mets won the World Series, and it was televised back to New York, an exhibition game. Here's Fritz Peterson. He steps to the plate, and like he hits a line drive to left center field, and you hear Rizzuto there saying, "Oh, wait a minute! This could be a home run for Fritz Peterson! Holy cow!" Going right over the fence, and Fritz Peterson's like jogging around and all the Yankee fans are cheering. It was in Fort Lauderdale, if I remember. That was where the Yankees used to have their exhibition games in Florida. And if you were a Met fan at that moment, you felt like this tall as you're
Jeez.
watching Peterson running around the bases. So those are the good old days of baseball.
Yep. All right, you know what? Let's call it a night. It's 8:18. So thanks everybody for being here tonight. As always, we love it that you're here. Even during this time of year in the spring, where the snowstorms are but a memory, and hurricane season is still, for all intents and purposes, months away from impacting, potential impacts of the Northeast. So we got lots of time to get there. So the weather, for the most part, this time of year is a little more easygoing with the odd severe weather case that we have for tomorrow. So we'll hope to see you tomorrow night right here at 7:30 Eastern Time. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. Mulch is the name of the game now, folks. 631-756-1125. They have tons of mulch because they make it there. They have the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com, the website. Also, wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. Your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, whether you want your house decorated or maybe you want to do this as a business. Give them a call at 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. Okay, that's it. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, we'll be here,
All
and
right.
it'll be the post mortem in the aftermath of whatever we get tomorrow afternoon, I guess.
Yep. Nighty night, everybody.
Night.